All right, welcome everyone. I believe we are officially live. Just to confirm, though, Chris, if you could drop a comment in the comments there, just to confirm everything looks okay. I think we're good. Awesome, awesome. All right, well, yes, thank you all for joining us today. I tell you, I am typically nervous about doing LinkedIn Lives, but today I'm actually really excited for a couple of reasons. One is I don't have to worry about the technical setup because I've got Chris Hennessy behind the scenes doing all the production, handling all the technical stuff that just really terrifies me. So, Chris, thanks for helping out today. If any of you guys have interest in live streaming, Chris is the man. And the second reason I'm excited, obviously, is because of our guest, Kat Landa. Kat is the senior VP at 𝗵𝗽𝗯𝗃, and they do some amazing work to help their nonprofit clients raise more money. And just some background information here to kind of set the stage. So Kat and I connected on LinkedIn back in September of last year. I had given a presentation at the NEO Summit in Austin, Texas, and the topic was on how to build your personal brand on LinkedIn to benefit both yourself as a professional as well as the nonprofit that you work for. And over the last year or so, I really haven't seen or heard much from Kat on LinkedIn until about a couple of weeks ago. And I got a DM from her that basically said, "Yeah, hey, have you ever written any resources or posts about what to do if a post goes viral?" And I said, "No, I don't have anything like that, but what's going on?" And she sent me a link to the post, and her post indeed had gone viral. And I asked her to come on to a group coaching call with some of my clients a couple of weeks ago. She shared a great story. They got a lot of value from it. So I asked her if she would come on today, going live to the public world and telling that story, because I think you're going to get some real value from it. At the end of this session, don't expect your next post to go viral, but if you follow the steps and the lessons that you learn from her experience and her story, you will get more reach on your posts. And obviously, that's something as creators that we all want. So Kat's going to tell her story. Then we're going to pull up the post and actually break it down. Look at the different components of it so that you can actually get some tactical ideas that you can apply for yourself. And when we get to the end here, we will answer as many questions as possible. So just drop those questions in the chat as we're going, and we will get to those at the end. So with that, Kat, tell us your story.
Well, good morning, afternoon, evening for some of you. I'm excited to share with you today. This is sort of a continually surprising experience. It was not something that I set out to accomplish by any means, but it has been a great experience, really beneficial. I've learned a lot so far, just kind of following this wave of activity. So just to kind of give you that setup and background about where I was at with my LinkedIn presence, like Anthony shared, honestly, I really had no presence at all a year ago. I had picked up the usual handful of connections and folks, and over the last maybe 10 years of my career, and just bouncing around and that kind of thing. And I did see him speak at NEO, and it just popped this awareness up for me of the power of LinkedIn and the potential there. Honestly, I went off of all other social media about 5 years ago. Just so contentious, so dramatic, so unrealistic, for so many reasons. It was really healthy for me to let go of that. But he was really convincing about the potential to, if you have something to say, if you're looking for a platform, that this is really kind of the place to do that. So that started my initial rumblings of, what might I share and what kind of, what would I do with that kind of a presence. So to be honest, I didn't take it all that far. I took a ton of notes that day and started playing around with the settings. I did his top 5, make these quick changes. I did all that. I turned on the content creator and all of that, and kind of noticed, okay, there's already some people in here. I got a handful of people that might see what I write or put up there. So I started dabbling and just kind of updating this, that, or the other, and then trying to look at, what is the unique value that I can add, and what kind of things have I experienced that I could be sharing. So probably January of this year, was where I hit any kind of intentionality, like I'm going to do something here. I'm going to start trying to make some progress, make some wave in this, you know, against some other priorities and stuff. So posting more consistently, picking up tips and applying different things. And I think I was just sort of still kind of learning, because to be honest, I don't have a specific brand that I'm landed on, right? So obviously that, you know, coming from the marketing world, it's like, you know, you got to know what you're talking about before you kind of build around it. And it hasn't been a lack of time or anything. It's just hasn't come together for me. I'm not sure what the side gig Kat is at this moment. I do a lot of like developing people and mentoring and training and different things like that, but I'm not setting out right now to have a full-time business with that or anything. So I haven't had a specific brand to put out there. It's just been like, hey, it's me, I'll help you grow maybe if you want to talk. You know, so I'm not doing any of those right things yet because I just haven't been there yet. Now, when it came to this excitement, just a couple of weeks ago, right? I'm trying to think back after everything happened. What was the impetus? Why did I write this? What was I thinking about? And I think a lot of it came from just that osmosis process of absorbing like what makes good content for LinkedIn. And I think it was almost subconscious a little bit, but I do remember thinking, yeah, you know, what do I really enjoy reading? The value add, right? Where it's just like, I can walk away and apply 3 great tips to whatever it is, if it's a life skill or, you know, a work thing about getting your next job or whatever that is, right? And I definitely had that in mind going, yeah, I need to take a thing that I'm passionate about and like give you a takeaway that you can walk away with and like apply it. And it's taken me a lot of time to learn something, you know, and go with it. So I have recently done some classes focused highly on intentional listening. And this has been a big topic for me for years and years and years of just becoming a better listener. And it's such a difficult skill. I was like, well, that's valuable, I think. I mean, you know, everybody wants a good listener, right? So that's where the post came from. And I said, hey, I guess I kind of wrote a hook without realizing it at the beginning. And again, I think that was sort of osmosis. I've read a lot of good posts, you know, and they start with like a little cliffhanger beginning, and so you kind of want to go into it. So I wrote this line, and I think I actually went back and edited this right before I posted it. Again, having no idea that almost anyone would see this, guys. I typically have 5 really nice friends who come and like my posts if I do say anything, you know, excellent or relevant or whatever. But so I wrote this headline here. It's time to come clean. I had to kick this nasty habit. And to be honest, I cringed myself a little bit because I was just like, oh, I'm doing that thing, that marketing hook thing. I feel so uncomfortable, you know, and I was like, let's just let it ride. Let's just, you know, it's fine. It's fine. It's interesting. Why not? So that became the beginning. And I do think that probably had a lot to do with how it caught fire a little bit here. But then sort of content-wise, what I was really putting into it was some honesty and authenticity. I'd be really strongly in transparency. A lot of the work that we do at 𝗵𝗽𝗀𝗃 is about showing the transparency of the organization, because that's what people are really looking for. And that is what's really resonating. We're so tired of all the less than transparency. What do we call that? I'm not going to say it, right? It's just, we can see right through it. And I'm tired of reading stuff that's polished up like that. And so I said, look, you know, here's a huge problem I've had, this interrupting habit. And here's, to be honest, a little bit of why that happened. So I probably could have said, yes, of course I have some ego in here, like a few people question, but I tried to explain a little bit. A lot of the time, the reason I interrupt is because of why. I get nervous, I get excited. There's a lot of other things going on in there besides just me being, you know, wanting to stomp all over everybody because I think I have some amazing stuff to say. So I gave a little bit of that connection background of me personally and how I get to that point of interrupting someone in a conversation. It's actually because I'm really excited about talking to you, not because I don't want to hear what you have to say. And then I just transitioned into, you know, I acknowledge someone who's really helped me in this area. And then I was like, how can I distill what I've learned into some really quick, solid tips to take away? So I tried to keep it brief, and I think I ended up with 5 points. And I thought a little bit about kind of maybe the order to take you on a little bit of a journey. And we can come back into the detail of those, but that was the meat of it. Like, here's your takeaways. And then I wrapped it up with, am I alone in this? Like, I'm okay if that's actually just my issue and no one else has this issue, but, am I alone in it? Tell me what you think, give me your comments, etc. And then I took a stab at the hashtags, right? I was just like, listening skills, empathy, there's probably 100 different ones I could have used, maybe some things that would have been better, but picked a couple of those and then said, I should put a visual, right? Like, people put visuals with this. And I thought, do I put a meme? And actually had just recently done one on listening that was very short with a meme. So I didn't want to do that. So I found this great infographic that had a lot of like resonance with the points I already made and just popped it in here, and they have credit on there. So those were the components. That's sort of how it came together. Now let me tell you what happened. So I can't figure out how to make LinkedIn tell me the exact day that I posted this, because it just does that thing like, this was a week ago, this was weeks ago, but I'm almost positive it was a Wednesday. I don't know, 10, 12 o'clock in the day. And of course I got my couple of likes like I usually do for my sweet fans or friends of mine, and then nothing, and then absolutely nothing, which is exactly what I expected, which is exactly how most of it goes for me at this point. Again, I don't have a real strategy. I haven't been consistent, all those things. I was expecting nothing else to happen. And then Friday morning of that week, this was probably, it was either Wednesday or Thursday, so it's either a day later, 2 days later. I am waking up, I'm doing the one eye scroll, like, okay, what kind of news, what kind of email, who's in my inbox this morning, and like, I have a zillion notifications from LinkedIn. And I immediately am like, oh my gosh, I've been hacked. I panicked. I'm just like, what else could it be, right? Like, oh my gosh, all these weird requests. I was getting, direct messages and stuff. And I was just like, oh, darn it. Like, this is going to be a whole thing. I have to figure out how to untangle this whole mess. And, like, you're not really even awake yet, right? So I'm like kind of coming into consciousness, and I'm like, wait a second. No, they're asking me questions, or they're talking about interrupting, they're talking about listening, and they're sharing, and wait a second, right? And so now I'm like up, I get out of it, I go to my laptop, and I'm like, what's happening? And
you're viral, officially.
I was like, I don't even know what to do with this, right? But immediately, like, only thought I had was, who is the LinkedIn guru? I was like, I have to text Anthony and be like, what do I do? What do I do with this? So I did. I DM'd him right away and was like, hey, so you have anything I can read that you already put together on this? And he was like, actually, no, but here's some thoughts. There were hundreds of people sharing their experience, and that was so eye-opening for me. Really just striking, because I guess, you hear about the power of LinkedIn, and you can see that happen in some places with some of the people that you follow, but, I hadn't experienced that yet. And just to see people kind of coming together, because they weren't even just commenting to me and on what was going on, but they started commenting with each other, right? So now you've got all of these people interacting over their own experiences, the bad experiences they've had with people, the bad behavior they've had with people, right? So just a lot of communal sharing over this issue. And I realized, one, how big of an issue this is for people. I'm not alone. And two, that honestly, it's just such a willingness for people to change around this. So it just created a forum and a community, and you really saw that play out. So I can only imagine that if you can rally folks around whatever your thing is, whatever your platform, or however you can help, it's going to be a great experience for them as well. So that's sort of the broad swath of how this all went down. In the end, so many interesting things, direct messages, people looking for coaching, for career coaching, which I do. So I was able to take some on, and I was able to pass them to other people, friends in my network that could help them. I had a senator in Tennessee reach out and say that they're talking about this in their office right now, about the communication styles and about being better listeners and being able to, understand. And I was just like, a senator is direct messaging me. This is out of control. Like, I never would have expected this. So, and even to this day, they're still getting shared. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, exactly, exactly. And the fact that, yeah, it was even on the awareness level was pretty awesome. So yeah, it's been fairly wild, and there's probably a lot more I can share, but I can take any cues from you, Anthony, or any questions that are already popping up.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And thanks for sharing that story. Phenomenal. And so you've had roughly what 80,000 views to the post so far.
Yeah,
Over
yeah,
2,000 likes and 600 plus comments and 250 roughly shares. That last time I looked. Uh,
yeah. And
that's
I've
that's
doubled my own followers. So the interesting thing is that, I mean, that's like a really big action step in my mind. Looking at it as one thing, making a thumbs up, but I've had all these people say, yeah, I want to hear more about whatever this gal's talking about, was really surprising to me.
you went from basically 1,000 followers to 2,000 followers from one post.
Yes,
Double your network.
yes.
That's phenomenal.
I really
Like,
hope this isn't the peak of my life, you guys, but it might be.
well,
Yeah,
you're just getting started now. Now you've
yeah.
set a precedent. You've got to do this
I
every day.
know. I know, right?
But there's a lot to unpack there, and the biggest two things that I would say, the reason this went viral is because it truly led with value. And to your point earlier, there's so much content out there that's all over the place, and a lot of posts will go viral because they stir up controversy or there's some sort of shock value. The other posts, and that doesn't get you anything for your business. It doesn't really help your brand. But the other types of posts that go viral are the ones that really do offer true value, where you are showing something about your personality, whether that's showing your personality or showing a vulnerability, as you did here, but you made it relatable. You brought up a topic that was clearly relatable to thousands of people. And like once you unlock a post like that and you can share value and drive a conversation, getting people to leave comments, like that is the fuel that feeds the reach of any post. It's comments. Likes are great, but comments and shares, people to share this, just blindly reshare it on their profiles. That speaks volumes. So what I thought we would do is just walk through a couple of things that you hit on as far as breaking down the post itself. And you touched on this. You had a magnetic headline, right? And some people would look at this and say, "Oh, that's clickbait," right? They want me to click that see more to get me to go through and read. But it was genius, and I don't consider it clickbait because you delivered value. It wasn't just trying to get them to click to go through and read a bunch of nonsense. It was true value. And then what you did here, you set the stage. You told people, okay, here are some actionable tips that you can take, and you just boom, 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 outline those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then at the end, and this was critical, I truly believe this drove a large, or was a large driver of this going viral. Am I alone in the struggle? Like you asked that question of your network.
Yeah.
And that instantly prods people to say, no, you're not alone. Like I have this problem too. I don't think about it enough. Thank you for the suggestions. And like you said, it just became a really great conversation. So some of the comments that you read, are there any that stick out in your mind?
Yeah, there's definitely they fell into some categories. And I'm grateful to your advice. Of I said, should I start replying to these people? You're like, yes, reply to every single person you can, right? So that sort of kept the conversation going. I would say, to be honest, the most inspiring thing was just the lack of haters. So I think there were two people who made some sort of just offhanded, like, sounds like you just wrote a bunch of words about how much you suck, like, so there was like two of those, to which I was at least able to kind of shrug it off. And then one person who said, TLDR, too long, didn't read. And I wrote her back and I said, you know what, top tip, keep your mouth shut. Like that's, it's like, sure, here's your version, right? But outside of that, it was just overwhelmingly positive. So one thing that was really consistent is people actually giving me praise, which makes me uncomfortable, but we'll roll with it for now, which was just, thanks for your vulnerability is really what they were saying consistently. And that's really important to me because I believe that, if you guys are any Brené Brown fans here, she talks about vulnerability and does a lot of research in that area. One of the things she talks about is vulnerability is the last thing I want you to see in me, but the first thing I want to see in you. Because once you see that someone's not like an icon that's of perfection, then you can relate to them better, right? Oh, you're not a perfect mom. You're not a perfect employee. Okay, now I can relax and let my guard down and we can be friends, right? So I think it encouraged me that people clung to that or they liked seeing that, especially in their workplace environment, right, of LinkedIn, because it gives me hope that we are moving in that direction where people can be more transparent. We can make mistakes. We can embrace that growth side of things. So that was a big theme for sure. Obviously, just a lot of people saying, oh my gosh, this is such an issue for me. So, I had a few comments like, this is going to save my relationship. This is going to save my job. This is going to, a couple comments, like really humbling comments, like, I'm going to print this out and put it in my office right now, or I already have it hanging up or something. I'm like, oh my God, but it was, it felt wonderful to know that people are going to benefit from this thing that I've learned and struggled with so much and have done the hard work on, and to be able to give you the cliff notes that you can do better right now. I was happy to do. Other things that were interesting is, a few people brought up concerns about things I said or whatever, like, hey, for people who are not neurotypical, this is actually an issue that they is going to be inherent for them, like a physical disability, right? And so it's not fair to call it a nasty habit or things like that. So I talked to them and I was just like, thank you for sharing that with me. It's a perspective I wouldn't have unless you shared. And I appreciate that. And they said, I appreciate you for listening. So there was some good dialogue around that. And I think outside of that, it was just that communal opening up. So people were helping each other. Some people had specific frustrations around specific people that they work with. And then people were able to jump in and say, have you tried something like this? Or I can tell you what for me, blah, 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 blah. So I would say those are the common themes that were happening.
Yeah. And you did a really phenomenal job too of going in, when you did start responding to people in the comments, like it wasn't just a quick thank you. Like you were actually, leaving thoughtful comments to their comments, and that said a lot. And from a tactical standpoint, you did a great job of tagging every person in your response. So what that does is two things. One, it's going to give them a notification that someone's commented on their comment, thus likely bringing them back to the app or to the site. And two, it potentially exposes that comment to people in their network who are second or third degree connections of yours. So like all of that combined, it just helped improve the reach overall. But yeah, phenomenal job there. And as far as the key strategies, being authentic, being relatable, and being consistent. Like I preach that in all of to all of my clients and all of my training. Those are the three tenets of being successful on LinkedIn. And it takes practice, and like that consistency, that's where I think most people struggle, because a lot of people, kind of like you said earlier, when they first start out, they'll make a post, it'll get 2 or 3 likes. And if you get that over time and you don't get that viral hit, it gets discouraging, and you say, this isn't worth my time, and you walk away. Mm-hmm. But what separates most people on successful in building a personal brand and those who aren't are the ones who stay at it, who remain consistent over the long term, who add value through their content, but then they also contribute to that larger conversation, engaging with other people's posts, doing that on a regular basis. Like those are the core components of building your personal brand for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I have questions for you, Anthony, at this point.
Sure.
This is a good time for that. I think it'll be helpful too to the whole team here kind of listening is, sort of where do you go from here, right? So one, I would look at this and say, how could we repurpose this? I've heard repurposing is an important key of like content that you already have that's working. What are the other ways that I can use it to continue that reach?
Yeah, great question. So my recommendation is repost this, almost this exact post in a couple of months for a couple of reasons. One, not everyone's going to remember it. Two, it was valuable the first time. If they see it again, it will be valuable again. But three, you're going to add new people to your network over the course of the next couple of months, especially if you remain active on LinkedIn. So it's going to be brand new to them. And there are a couple of things that I would do maybe differently to see if you can either replicate these results or even potentially get more reach. And the first thing that I would suggest is, instead of adding an image like you did here, I would actually go with a text-only post, because typically the reach of a text-only post is greater than a post with a photo. Some photo posts get higher engagement, but the overall reach is usually better on text only. The other reason I mentioned that is, this is a useful infographic, but it's really hard. Let me see if I can scroll. If I have a picture here, yeah. So this is what it looks like on mobile, and you really
tiny.
Yeah, the image itself doesn't have a whole lot of value. So what I would recommend is going out again with a text-based post. If you wanted to include that infographic, you could drop it in the comments and just reference it. But give that a shot and see what happens. I've had a number of posts that have done well over the years, and pretty much every one of those posts I have made 2, 3, sometimes 4 times over the course of several months or a couple of years. And the results vary, and they vary based on a lot of variables that you can't control at any given time. But typically, if people find it valuable once, they're gonna find it valuable again. So I would certainly do that.
Okay. And then even going from here, so I have a sort of follow-up post, right? So like what I've learned or what that experience was like, kind of like the conversation that we're having. And I've been sitting on it a little bit because I didn't want to interrupt whatever flow is happening with this, or, at this point, is it safe to go ahead and get that out there, and any advice on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would make that follow-up post today. And I really believe that will be extremely well received, because, you had a viral post. People want to know what you learned from it, very similar to why people are tuning in here today. So absolutely do that. Respond to as many comments as you can, just like you did in that original post. I would also maybe add a link to this recording in the comments, so you can have have your thoughts, your insights, and so forth, and then say, if you want to see the full conversation, here's a link to the conversation we had with Anthony today.
Yeah.
Great. And then aside from that, continue to leave comments on other people's posts on a daily basis, and start planning out your content. I know you've been kind of sporadic, as you mentioned, with your content over the last year, but set a goal to post 2 or 3 times a week. And that's not a magic number by any stretch. It just feels a lot less overwhelming than thinking I've got to post every day, because when we feel overwhelmed, we do nothing. So 2 or 3 posts per week, and the type of content that you want to talk about, but make sure you're including content that shows your personality. That's another mistake that people make on LinkedIn, is they don't show that personal side. And as I've said so many times, people connect with people, even on LinkedIn, on a very real level. And your post is a great example of that. So post content that shows your personality, along with content that's related to your profession and the value that you can add from a career standpoint, for sure. The other point I wanted to make too is, 80,000 views, a post that goes viral on LinkedIn, that doesn't happen on Facebook or Instagram. Some of the posts that go viral there are the ones that probably have shock value, but LinkedIn is one of the few remaining social media networks where you do have the opportunity for massive organic reach. And like TikTok would be the other one right now. You can have a very small network But if you put out a really quality piece of content, it can be seen by tens, hundreds, millions of people. So like for everyone listening today, if you're on the fence about, should I start posting content? Should I be active on the platform? Like these are the good old days of LinkedIn, because, the time will come where the platform is saturated with content like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. But the fact is, even today, less than 1% of the total LinkedIn user base across the globe post content on a weekly basis. And those 3 million people roughly are getting like 9 billion views to their content every week on LinkedIn. So like take advantage of the good old days of LinkedIn and start posting content today. Okay. Any questions? And I know Chris had to run. I'm going to try to scroll through here and see if we have any. Okay, Larry. I'm seeing more long form posts like this. I too have been experimenting with different content format styles, video, memes, long form, short form. Are you seeing any format styles stick more than others? So I think my answer to that is if it's quality content, it doesn't matter what form it takes. In this case, it was a text post with a photo. If you've got quality in your message, it's going to do well. Having said that, I strongly encourage everyone to experiment with different types of posts. For the most part, videos, and this is something that I'm doubling down on personally over the next year, is video content. And Kat, you might want to consider taking this post and turning it into a video. Slightly changing, the flow a little bit differently, but creating a video and posting it maybe 4 months from now, or maybe even try it on a separate platform. But the reason I love videos is because two things. One, LinkedIn is putting more emphasis on videos. It's giving it more organic reach. But two, video content allows you to establish your personal brand faster than any other type of media, because it shows your personality and it helps build a sense of trust faster, because you're literally talking to your audience, and it just shows your personality and who you are in a way that you just can't get in any other type of post. But as far as long form, short form, both can do well. Larry, you mentioned memes. I love memes. There are some people who are crushing it on LinkedIn, and they include a meme or an animated GIF in every post. First person that comes to mind is James Lorraine. If you guys aren't following James, you should be. James has his strategy where he includes an animated GIF in every single post, and it's kind of like that hook, that headline that Kat had. It grabs your attention in the newsfeed. It makes you stop your scroll, and some of the stuff that he puts out there, like, you can't not stop. You've got to look at it and see what the message is, and he's a brilliant copywriter anyway, so his content is phenomenal. So, experiment with different types. Find the ones that really fit your personality, your style, and experiment.
I have a couple of other comments on video if it's helpful, Anthony.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's my current day job, is utilizing video to tell stories and compel people into decision making, like gift giving to nonprofits. So, and there's another question here about video and comfort with video. So video is here to stay. It's completely taking over. There's so many statistics I can share with you about the rate of growth of video and the length of those videos. So as much as possible, I think when you, like, if I'm going to repurpose this, I think that's a great idea, Anthony. It's probably going to be over a minute long, just to cover some of those value topics that I think people will stay tuned because they want to get all the points, kind of thing. But in general, we want to keep those as short as humanly possible. People are watching for about 49 seconds for a small update. So keeping it to a minute is a great goal. Sometimes it's going to take you a little bit longer to deliver something with that, but recall over video is intense. So written copy that you're reading, recalls in the 10 to 15% range, video recalls in the 90% range. So if you really, if you want to be memorable, if you want them to get that content, video is absolutely the way to go. And so comfort, right? So I work with hundreds of nonprofits every day, getting them comfortable enough to share a video update. So all walks of life, you have very few people who take to it like a fish in water. And just because, you or I are comfortable does not mean that most people are. It does take practice. I think you have to think about the end goal. Like, what do you want? Do you want the outcome? If you want the outcome, do the practice, right? And so you kind of have to just keep that in mind. But I think the biggest piece of advice for people that are nervous about doing video is letting go of the idea that people are paying that much attention. Usually what people are nervous about is it being perfect. What do I look like? Do I stumble over my words? Does it look just right? Does it sound just right? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Deliver the thing. They just want that content. They want that personal connection, and that's it. And so actually what we talk about in our work, and what's a little bit different about what we do at our companies than some others, is it's completely raw and authentic. There is no editing. You're not slicing the thing together. There's place for all that, right? But for this kind of quick little, here's what's going on behind the scenes look, or here's what my tip of the week is, or whatever that is, you just want it to be completely unadulterated. No screens, you don't need a bunch of fancy equipment. It's like jump on the phone and record it right to LinkedIn if you want, or however you want to do that. But people are not like inspecting this with a microscope going, I don't know if that was very good lighting on the video, right? They don't care. They're just going to watch it for 40 seconds and then they're going to move on with their day. But if you can deliver something valuable in those 40 seconds, great for you. So that's my advice on that.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice. And like even to this day, even though I've gotten more comfortable shooting videos, I'm still nitpicking every single detail and reshooting more than I should. But yeah, most people aren't paying attention to that. They're listening to the message. If it's a good message with good content, that's all they care about, and that's what they will remember. There are 2 apps that I would share for anyone who is interested in getting started with videos. The first one is called Teleprompter for Video, and it's a free app both for Apple and for Android. And you can actually load the script. You can write the script for your video, load it into the app, turn it on just like a teleprompter, that you'd see in a newsroom or something. And it scrolls the copy and it keeps it right near the top of the camera lens. So you never lose eye contact with the audience. It looks and feels natural, and it saves you so much time. Because when I first started filming videos, I would either try to memorize the script, which was a nightmare, or I would have it printed out maybe to the side of the camera and I'm glancing over, and it was terrible. So Teleprompter for Video. And the other app, Larry, I see your other comment here. I'm glad you brought this up. It's called Inshot. And it is a very simple editing app for video. And I completely agree with Kat. You don't need to do a lot of video editing, production, anything like that. But sometimes you'll stumble or you'll start over, and it's got really easy ways to just cut out that dead space and keep the message moving. And that's the other thing you really want to remember is keep it short, keep it moving, and yeah, that's the best way you can get started with video for sure. And practice, just practice.
Practice.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions?
I see one about live streaming versus recorded video, and if either has a stronger reach on LinkedIn.
Great question. I'm not seeing it, but yeah, I'm not sure who asked it, but great question. Rob. So recorded video versus live streaming, correct? Was that the question?
Yeah.
So they both have their benefits for sure. The benefits of recorded video is typically it has greater reach because, well, for whatever reason, it has greater reach. LinkedIn Lives have lower reach because if you think about it, most people can't just stop what they're doing in the middle of their day and watch a 30 or 40-minute broadcast, although they can watch that later. But one of the great benefits of live video production is it's in the moment. It's very authentic. It's very real. That there's no editing. You have a lot of engagement with the comments, a much deeper level of engagement with the comments that you don't always get in a recorded video. And I wish Chris was still here. Chris 𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗃, our producer today, This is his business. He helps people produce these productions, or put these productions out there, and he could tell you all you wanted to know, all the benefits of live streaming much better than I could. So maybe we can get him back on and have a separate discussion just on that topic.
Good, yeah.
Very good. All right. Any other questions before we wrap it up? All right. Well, seeing none, Kat, I just want to say thank you again for coming on today. This is the second time here. It's been extremely helpful. I know that folks can take what they've learned today, apply that to their content, and start getting more reach. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. And thanks, everyone, for coming on. And I wish you best of luck in your journey.
Absolutely. And be sure and send Kat a connection request, 𝗶𝗲𝗀𝗃 as well. And if anyone needs help with your LinkedIn profile, whether it's building a personal brand for you, for your company, I am still accepting a couple of one-on-one coaching clients over the next couple of months. So please send me a DM. I'd love to work with you. Have a great day, everyone.